Right about now, you are listening to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, a show where we discuss living as a leader worth following, leading others to do the same, and in doing so, leaving a legacy for future generations. My name is Jimmie Gonzalez Jr., a learning and development professional and leadership coach, sitting down with my co-host Anthony Devon Watts Jr., an expert contact center leader that has effectively led and developed dynamic teams with high motivation. Together, we have over 30 years experience in the corporate game. Join us as we discuss our growth as leaders, share the lessons we've learned, and interview others to see how their leadership style was shaped as they were mentored by adversity. What do you feel is the best way to provide recognition within a remote setting as we are now?
Yeah, man. So I think you kind of set the foundation for this, which is really about just getting creative, with how you communicate out achievements. And so obviously, the email blasts and all that stuff, the virtual walls, all of those things go a long way. If you have some type of actual recognition system, like some type of kudos system or something like that, that goes a long way as well. But again, it's really about just getting as creative as possible. I have one of the things I've actually implemented myself, with my squad and just working remotely. I know just how taxing it can be, especially when you're working at home. And this may sound like so super simple, but it's real, just to eat the stuff that's in the fridge, to eat the stuff that's in the house, you know what I mean? And you don't have the ability or the opportunity to break away from the home and go to restaurants like you would normally do or anything like that, right? And so, for my squad, if I want to go out of the way to recognize them, I used to be able to take people to lunch, right? Like, hey man, just let me take you to lunch. Well, now, the way that I accomplish that in this remote environment, this virtual environment, is, I'll buy Uber gift cards, and I'll send it to them to their phone and just be like, hey man, the least thing I can do is, take you out to lunch, from the comfort of your home. Right. And so, here's a, $25, Uber Eats gift card. So that should be enough to get McDonald's because Uber's be taxing if you order through them. But yeah, it's just stuff like that, man. And like you said, just, really getting creative with, how you leverage technology. We've even implemented things like, doing pre-recorded messages to our squads. You talked about Fun Friday. I've seen situations or instances where people have gotten creative and, they've kind of tongue in cheek, done stuff like, oh, bring your kid to work day. Well, bruh, if I'm working from home every day, is bring my kid to work day, right?
Yeah.
Or bring your pet. But it's just an opportunity for people to engage in a different manner, in a different way, and navigate some of the awkwardness, to be honest with you, that comes with working remotely. Because I know, we've experienced ourselves actually for the better part of a year before even this stuff hit. Because, Gabriella working at home, she's worried about, oh man, the kids making noise. I can't let people hear the fact that kids are here because then they know I'm working from home. And what does that do? And, for me, I just try with my squad to lean into it. No, I want to see your pets. Show me your kids. I was literally having a comp meeting with my direct reports, and we were just talking about a potential bonus plan proposal. I was giving them feedback on things that they need to tweak, and in the middle of me having this video conference, I was like, can you guys give me 1 second? My son Lennox is trying to climb out of his high chair while it's dinner time. And so I had to run over real quick and pick him up because Lennox is very adventurous. And then I finished the rest of the meeting just holding Lennox, and Lennox just looking in the the video, and he's been a part of the comp meeting as well. And so again, taking advantage of those situations, leaning into the fact that, we're in this environment. And so there's a different norm. And so thinking of different ways that you can drive recognition in that environment, given kind of the current setup and the current situation.
Yeah, I think, still sticking to some of the basic principles is still important. You have to know your people and what do they appreciate. So if you're sending out an email blast to everybody and they don't necessarily like, that type of recognition in front of everybody, that's still not going to work, right? So it's, it could be just a private email and just say, hey, I really appreciate the way that you handled that situation. Thank you for coming through, on that task that, or the information that we needed you to provide, whatever it may be. Sometimes just that individual communication, again, sends a lot, because it just lets people know that you're thinking about them. You see, what's going on, you see the effort, and you appreciate that. But knowing your people and knowing what type of recognition they appreciate is always important as a leader. It's not about what you would want, or what you think is going to be good. It's about, again, knowing them, having those type of relationships, and using that to really get the most out of those moments, where you're trying to create some really good recognition and show thanks and appreciation for a job well done.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it continues to tie back into kind of some of these foundational themes, whether you're working remotely or you're working on site, right? It comes down to rapport building, comes down to communication, and all of those things feed into, kind of the broader theme of around trust. But to your point, if I'm not building rapport, if I'm not communicating with my team, then I don't know what you value. How can I know what you value so I can recognize you appropriately? And hopefully, you have some pretty robust systems so that you can differentiate performance and you have visibility to people's productivity on a day-to-day basis and week to week and month to month and all that kind of good stuff. I would think foundationally, a lot of that has not changed, regardless of if they're if they're doing work on site or if they're doing work from home, right? But it is really about saying, okay, I know for a fact that, Jimmie likes public recognition. And so can I pull him into, one of these virtual meetings that I'm having with some higher ups and give him exposure and just call out the fact that, hey, I just wanted to bring Jimmie on board so everybody can see the face of, one of the top performers for the organization. He was able to, accomplish X, Y, Z, and know that that's going to feed Jimmie and how he feels recognized. Or also knowing that, Devon, he doesn't like that type of attention. You know what I mean? He's a little bit more low key. He wants to do a good job, and he wants to know that his contributions are appreciated, but he doesn't want to be put on Front Street. And so knowing that things like sending, Devon a Uber Eats gift card is the best form of recognition, with a personalized message that just says, hey, man, I just really, really appreciate, or tell you I appreciate your hard work around X, Y, Z, and keeping it pretty low key. So again, it's about knowing your team, building relationships, building rapport, and communicating effectively so that you can recognize properly. And then I would just say the last thing about it is if you're struggling, again, I really do believe this, if you're struggling to translate, kind of these concepts into the remote environment, it is because there was already an opportunity in that area on site. And it has just been magnified, amplified, because you don't have the benefit of people being close by so that you can cover down those gaps. And so, again, I would say for any leader that you're finding yourself struggling with these concepts or struggling with some of these areas, to learn from it, to take a step back and say, okay, well, this was clearly an opportunity before we sent people home.
Yep.
Right. And now I'm just becoming more aware of it. It's in my face. I can't get around it. I can't. And so how do I create a plan of action and really learn and dig in and figure out how to address it? Because at some point, business is going to return to on-site, and you don't want to get back into the same bad habits of not being able to communicate effectively or recognize your folks, and just count on the fact that, well, because they're on site, I'm not going to notice it as much. Right. So, again, it's good that if you're asking these questions, there's a certain level of awareness around it. But again, I would pose that these opportunities did not just kind of start revealing themselves because you're working remotely. They've existed for a while, and now they've been amplified. And so, now you have to do something about it, because you don't have the benefit of proximity to cover you down.
Rage on that beat, going crazy.
You have just listened to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, hosted by Jimmie Gonzalez and Devon Watts. Thank you, and we hope that you live, lead, and leave a legacy worth remembering. Until next time.